Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Today we have Noah with us on the DSPy interview series. Noah is the co-founder of SpeechSage. And they have been using DSPy for almost last 6-7 months in production. He also helped review a couple of chapters of my book. Noah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So why don't you give us a quick introduction of what is your background? What does SpeechSage do? And how do you use DSPy in it?
Yeah, sure. So my background, I went to school for electrical engineering, and I was on the track actually as wanting to become a doctor. And so I did a bunch of medical school prerequisites, but my mom advised me, it's like, well, instead of doing like chemistry or biology, why don't you do something where if you don't become a doctor, you would actually appreciate it. So I did electrical engineering. And I loved it. I thought it was amazing seeing how computers worked and everything. And I was about the time to go to med school. And I don't know, there's a lot of things I thought where I didn't know if I wanted the commitment of the med school process and the journey along with the expenditure. And so I got a good opportunity to do a master's at the same college I went to. And my master's ended up being on computer vision techniques for detecting cancer cells flowing through a microfluidic.
Okay.
And so that was really, I didn't know anything about AI. This is back in 2021.
Right.
But that was when I first started learning about machine learning and neural networks and, starting with really, really basic things like a single layer perceptron with, one hidden layer dimension. And then moving on to actually, hand creating your own from scratch. Well, hand creating, I'm using TensorFlow or PyTorch still, but, it's not like I'm just importing.
Right.
But anyway, I did a master's in that and computer vision in like the biomedical engineering arena, and I just loved I love the computer vision. I love the machine learning AI space, and I still am. So I'm always trying to learn and stay up to date with new stuff. I was able to get a job working at a startup, Dakota, doing computer vision, and they were in the automotive space. And so I was there for about a year and a half until fall of 2024, where they had to do a few pivots. Their intended product didn't quite fall in line with my expertise, and they kind of fell into hard times in terms of funding and money, and so they had to let me go. But fortunately, I had been blessed. I'd come into contact with a gentleman who is a current practicing physician, and he is very, very interested in AI and artificial learning. So we had already connected at that point and started just kind of exploring what can we do with the healthcare and medical AI space, which is something that I was still interested in, but I was working at an automotive startup. And so we thought, okay, when they let me go, we said, well, hey, maybe this is a good opportunity where we can try starting our own thing as well. And so we started working on a project. So December of 2024 is when I started just doing this full time. He gives me a small monthly stipend to kind of float us, and then an allowance for our company. He's the one who will provide. That's my co-founder now, and so he provides the financial support. And we officially incorporated in April of last year, late March, April, and of SpeechSage. And so our vision here, SpeechSage in America and around the world, there's lots of inefficiencies, and there's plenty of examples where people want to have assistance, want to have guidance to the health staff, and the health staff is already overburdened. They can't add more. So you ended up with a situation where the doctors are slammed and too busy, and there's too many people that need additional health care. And we are very, very much of the belief that AI can really solve a lot of those problems, a lot of them. It's not going to be perfect. It won't solve everything, but it can do a lot of it. And that would be amazing. And so we thought, okay, what would be one of the first lower entry things that we could enter into? And so we thought of an AI receptionist, where we're still adhering to hospital grade standards in terms of safety practices and data storage, but we are not diagnosing yet, because that also requires quite a bit more investment and effort just to make sure that you're giving the right information. We want to move towards that, and that is our vision and our goal. But right now, we're just focusing more on like the clinic and the patient communication experience, and how we can make that a lot more seamless.
And this is essentially folks who are calling the help desk, or who are calling the person who's responsible for the clinic or the hospital and sort of having the first contact in terms of booking an appointment? Is
Yeah, so precisely what we do is we serve as a backup receptionist for your front desk. It could be your main receptionist as well, but for scheduling appointments, answering questions, and we'll do integrations into your scheduling software as best as we can. Sometimes they don't allow it, but most of the time we can make it work. That's the route that we're seeing people are interested in is if they have their staff there, they want them to answer the phone. But after hours or, maybe over lunch break or on the weekend, so that's
okay.
when we would then kick in. As we do see a future where, if the receptionist can just be in person, attending to
Hmm.
people in person, and they don't need to be on the phones at all, that's
Right.
probably ideal, but that's a clinic by clinic basis. Some
Got it.
people want to have a human on the phone if they can.
Understood. Awesome. So is it possible, like I understand that we can't simulate a real world situation, but is it possible to get some sort of demo, sub sense of what the product does and how it works?
Yeah, sure. I can quick show you a little bit of a web app and even maybe like a demo call as well. And we'll try to let you hear it. So yeah, let me share my screen here. Hey, you'll see all my tabs I have open. All right. You were seeing this, I'm assuming?
Yes, I can.
So again, this is just a quick demo of our web app. I'm not going to show you our full web app, but I'm hoping that showing the web app can give you an idea of what's going on. So this is our dashboard. The concept of an agent or a receptionist, you have to give it a persona and you have
Hmm.
to give it an intent. So the
Okay.
persona would be almost giving it a personality. You are Alex. So in this example, we have Alex here. And here, we actually gave it a bunch of so a big part of the magic sauce that what we're finding is it is the way that you describe your personality or your agent, and that's the personality and that is the instructions as well. And that is in what's called the system prompt or system instructions. And this is kind of a process of trial and error. Now, I will say, I'm already going to put in my first plug here for DSPy, but this is a really, really, really good use case here for an improved prompt.
Right.
Is you can take feedback as time goes
Hmm.
on and you have a call that comes in and you say that, oh, this call is not ideal. And this is what I found was wrong with the call. That feedback with the call can be used in tandem with the existing system prompt to create a more improved system prompt.
Okay.
Now, this is something we are testing extensively in beta. This is not something that we have actually on our web app yet, but that is something we've been testing out a lot. And we've put the systems and the data collections feedbacks in place. So that way we can easily review calls. And then from that, have like a small training set to use, not a training algorithm necessarily. We don't need to train a model anymore, really, for a lot of cases. We just need to train and optimize our prompt using what DSPy so readily gives. Anyway, we have that, and that's a process that we will work with the customer and the client with, where we will monitor their calls for a while, well, forever, really. We want it to always be up to as good as we can. But a lot of times, you'll find some really weird glitches and edge cases with the
Right.
models. No, each model is slightly different, and a lot of
Correct.
times you will not find that out until either a real world use case or you do
Correct.
simulation testing. And so then you'll just add to the prompt or modify it as necessary, test it again, see if it works. So anyway, we provide that service. A lot of this we believe can be automated, but for now we're just doing this manually. And this is something that we will do for the client. If they want to do it themselves, they have access to this. But for a lot of people, they don't necessarily know how to get started. And so
Got it.
we will just do it for them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hey, by
So
the way,
the
as I'm
second,
seeing your
yes.
prompt, you got the sample conversation flow. So is this like just sort of bootstrapping it with a bunch of examples in the prompt, or
Yes.
okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes what we found, this is actually what we found is a really, really good way of improving the response of your AI. A lot of times when you find a way that an AI fails at a conversation, you can look at that conversation log, which we then store, and then you can modify it to how you want. And if you add that modified example and give it in the prompt, we found that doing like that's what we would call a one-shot bootstrapping or multiple shot or few shot possibly examples. And that really, really helps a lot to mitigate that specific scenario exactly, which is really good. Yes. My wife is, she's Mexican-American. So, but she will, if I copy her, she'll call me a copiona. But I've found that, large language models are very good copionas. give them something to copy and emulate. They're very good at that. But if you let it be creative, it can come up with some very interesting things that you might not really like. Yes.
How does this? So I understand this is a text-based prompt. Now, where does
hmm
DSPy come into picture?
There's two other parts I'm going to quick touch on that we've found is extremely important for a reliable demo. The first one would be, or for reliable voice agent, and the first one is the voice. Now we're using Cartesia.
Okay.
I've been very happy with Cartesia, and they are a great, excellent provider. And what they actually provide is, we can change the voices here. Some of these voices, you'll see they have what's called like emotive. And those, what you can do is, this is a prompt thing as well, but you can add these, and SSML tags is what they're called, but they're
Okay.
a type of speech markup language where then the LLM, when it's sending text to go to the Cartesia to create the voice, it will actually respond dynamically, which gives it an emotion that really can add to the experience quite a bit.
Got it. So it's more
I've
human-like.
been actually much more human-like to the point where it is almost hard to distinguish. And I've been actually a little surprised at how many people, if you don't use things like that, like even Kiefer, it sounds great. It works fine, but you can still tell it's AI. And there's been a lot of people that I've run into that they say, oh, because they can tell it's AI, they don't like it as much because they don't want people to know it's AI when they're calling, because maybe it's just a Midwest thing, but it possibly hurts the
Right.
perception of their business.
Understood. No,
I'm not
absolutely.
sure.
I get a bunch of calls and I can clearly make out it's AI. It just feels very infuriating, and you just kill those calls. And I
Right.
think if I was on the other end and I want a high rate of success, I would want a voice that maybe, it just fools the person on the other end that it's human. But yeah, I mean,
I agree
let's
with you.
proceed. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yes, yes. And to that as well, I think a lot of that comes from, we've had many, many bad experiences with AI because they've been very dumb and stupid up until now. I'm hoping in the future, I wouldn't mind if there was like a support desk where if you got the AI, you were happy because it's going to be more accurate and get your call solved faster than a human would. Like that would be, I think, ideal in my opinion. Okay, and then the second part I'll quick talk on that we've done so much work, and this is probably where most of the time has been spent, is latency. Latency, latency, latency. If house prices are determined by location, 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 the efficacy of a voice AI is determined by latency, latency, latency. Obviously, you need a model that sounds human and that is smart, right? So those are two givens that you cannot escape from. But then on top of that, the most important thing is how fast to respond.
Okay.
We've been able to get, I believe, to a pretty good response rate, but a lot of that has been playing around with different models. And I'll just share our secret sauce. It's nothing secret. I share with it freely. But Cartesia, we use DeepGram I found DeepGram works really well for low latency text transcription. And they have an excellent model called Flux.
Okay.
So when people talk about voice AI systems, a lot of times they say AI is one conglomerate thing. But in reality, most of the times you have like 4 or 5 models. You have your model, an AI model to detect when speech is started or when a human has started talking. You have a model, then another model to detect to transcribe that into text. You have another model, which is your large language model. Maybe you even have that in tandem with another one to add more context to your system. And then you have another model to actually convert that back to text. So DeepGram, the Flux model is excellent, where it will combine the speech recognition with the text transcription, that's awesome. And it does it really fast, makes it a lot more seamless. And then for the large language model, we found that Grok, not with a K, but with a Q. And then using an open source Chinese model works really, really well for being both smart and then fast as well.
Quick question.
Yes.
Since you talked about latency, I'm assuming that your entire application is probably deployed in the same data center where all these models are hosted, or at least the geographical location is very nearby, so that your latency in terms of, so if your customers are in Midwest, are you hosting close to them, and does that help in terms of the latency for voice?
Yeah, we are using a Midwest based deployment. We're using an API for our inference provider. And those, what I've found, like for DeepGram, for one, like the round trip is, 2 milliseconds. So I really don't care a whole lot at that point. of, of where it's located.
Got it. It has to be in the same data center. If you're saying that it's just 2 10 milliseconds, so it has to be in the same data center. Otherwise, you wouldn't get that kind of. Yeah, let's go ahead, please.
Okay. Yes. So anyway, though, yeah. So that's an example of what we can do, and then we have basic actions. Like this magic sauce is in the actions here, where we can notify people. You do your integrations. You can do an email notification where when that call happens, you get a summary of the call. You can
Right.
do SMS. We're also doing agentic SMS, where we have an SMS platform where if you want to chat with someone, you can, and you can. I've not chatted in this in this, but I did in another one. But where you can actually chat with someone using SMS, and then a human can actually step in, or you can have your AI respond as well.
Wow, nice. That's awesome. So maybe someday
Yeah.
this can also connect to a WhatsApp, right?
Yes, that's actually on the list for integration stuff. I just haven't
Awesome.
we haven't taken the time to do that yet.
Got it. Got it. Awesome.
And then
Awesome.
and then one other thing as well. I can't about telling you things, but we have the ability to do. You can do transfers as well. So if you want to transfer the call to an actual human, you can enable this, add the number you want, and then give the LLM in a description of when you want that to be. And then, we have like outbound. You can make calls outbound as well. I was
Got it.
demoing this with someone who's actually not in healthcare, but he was wanting to pay to use it. And he was doing it for sales or for realty. We did it, and it worked beautifully. Outbound works beautifully. But then we found out, in the US, an AI robot, an AI voice agent goes underneath the same provisions as a robocall. And so you're not actually able to do that unless
You're
you
not
have a
allowed to.
prior written approval, which kind of defeats the
Got it.
purpose. So I was like, oh, that's a bummer. It makes sense, but
Right. Right.
so that's
Awesome.
sorry. Any questions before maybe a quick show, like
No, I think this
a
gives
quick
a
call?
sense of what the product does. If you have anything else in the demo, happy to see it. Otherwise, we'll jump into how you use DSPy here.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. No, I'll quick. This is a phone number. Quick one thing. There's a few here, so ignore these. These are testings.
Sure.
This is one that is in production. And so, like, how it works again, your agent is your personality, all your settings, your phone number is separate. You can link them together. You can have
Right.
multiple phone numbers linked to the same agent. That doesn't make a difference. But then here, we have time-based forwarding. So you can set, if you wanted it to be only available for different times, that is an option where you can set, it'll only activate. But yeah, if you call this number here, this is always available, always on if you're in the US. And this is, you can test it out. It's pretty simple. We can quick try if you want. We'll just do a quick 15 seconds. You can kind of see how it works. Let's see here. Okay, if we can, let me know if you can't hear anything.
Sure.
Hello. Thank you for calling today.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for asking. Busy guiding folks through voice tech.
Very
How can I
cool.
help you today?
You work with, what's your company you work with? Oh,
I'm at SpeechSage.
no, what's the company you work with?
SpeechSage. We build AI receptionists for small to mid-sized healthcare clinics.
Oh, that's really cool. How long have you guys been, who's your co-founder?
We've got 2 founders. Noah Vandal runs the show as CEO, and Dr. Joseph Yoon, our chief medical officer, keeps everything clinical grade.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
So,
That's
and that's
great.
like a very brief example of how it works. Yeah, sometimes, like with all AI systems, there's always ways to improve, especially in picking up background noise and things like that. But it's always a work in progress, and it's people have been using it quite often with success.
Got it. No, this is pretty awesome, And I think after document classification, clustering, topic modeling, I think the really big success has come in voice AI, right? So this was super helpful. So let's talk about,
Yes.
How you're using DSPy here. How has it helped you? And
Yeah, I'll do a quick enumeration of how we are currently using it, and then some things we've played around with, and then would love to use it in the future. So currently, we're really just using it in a really simple manner, honestly. Just DSPy provides an excellent interface for interacting with modules and signatures, especially. So every
Right.
call that comes in, we want it to have a summary. We want it to have, an intent. I showed you the little spot there where you can get an
Correct.
SMS summary of the call. And that's something that DSPy is extremely well optimized for. And so at the end of each call, obviously we saved the call metadata and everything to our database. And that gets, saved as it should be. But then the actual call itself is summarized. And the transcription is saved, but the transcription is taken and summarized in a way using DSPy and the signatures and those types of modules in a way that makes it really, we don't have to look twice or think about it.
Got it.
I was testing it out for a while and I didn't even have to do any optimizations just because it worked really, really well. If you use an adequately, you could even use a pretty small model. I forget which model we're using, but it's not the best model, but it works very well. I
Understood.
think it's the
Got
4.1
it.
mini, I
Got
believe.
it. So
No, so that's how we're
basically,
currently using it.
no, go ahead, continue.
Oh, no, I was going to move on to what we've experimented with. So if you have a
Okay.
question
Sure. So
about
basically,
that.
you've got a bunch of DSPy signature and a pipeline for all your post transcript, summarization, key points, themes, and maybe tags, etc. Right? Like that is the first.
Exactly
Okay,
as
got
well.
it. Okay, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yep.
Are you using any optimizers?
Yes. And so,
Yeah.
now in production, we have not. I've experimented with them in a few of those use cases and found that it didn't make much of a difference for like these limited use cases. And that's been that one we have not needed to use in production. Now, I showed you the example here. This is some things that I've extensively played around with. I've spent weeks experimenting. I have not gotten to a point where I'm happy with it yet. But one thing that we keep on running into is we want this to be very much self-serve. And as you saw, that prompt there was very much, the system
Audible?
instructions was very detailed.
Right.
What's that? Yeah,
No,
it's
go
very
ahead.
detailed, and it's not something that if I gave the average person, they would be able to create right away. I mean, there's a lot of learning and a lot of experience that kind of goes into that, which is fine. But we want a system where people can use it a lot readily, maybe in collaboration with ourselves. And so I've spent a lot of time using DSPy to take the system prompt along with different call logs and call transcripts to try to improve the prompt in a way where you have adequate outcomes. And that comes from, well, I guess getting our manually created feedback from the different system instructions that we have, or from the different call logs that we have,
Okay.
based off of the system and the call review system that I set up as well. I didn't show you that.
Sure.
And taking those and using those with a DSPy optimizer such as MePro V2 or GEPA, and then using that as feedback. And so I've used this to some success, where it did get slightly improved prompts. And I've used that, just on the back end myself to make the prompts better where, this prompt failed in this way. Let's improve it. And then, I've done a lot of experimenting and a lot of things, a lot of playgrounds in place where I've done a lot of experimenting. And that has helped improve a lot of the prompts just manually on my own. But we've not quite come to a system yet where we're using it in production yet for a one-shot application. However, I do think that's where I'd like to go, and I see us going that way in the future still. It's just there's only so many hours in a day, and I don't know. I feel like I have a high. I want it to be actually work pretty well, where it can be mostly hands off. We'll see if that happens. But so that's one big use case where I've spent literally days and weeks on it, but it's not in production at all.
The other thing about healthcare is regulation and
Mhm.
compliances, correct? And so how's that?
Yes.
Like I see you guys are HIPAA compliant, right? So how is that process? I've heard
Yes.
it's quite and it takes its own time. So how's that experience?
Right. So yeah, one thing I've learned, we're HIPAA compliant by a lot of places I actually was surprised to learn. They'll say claim HIPAA compliance, and they're self-certified. Meaning that there's no third party.
Right.
They just say they're HIPAA compliant, and then it's their word against yours. And then the only time that's an issue is if someone actually kind of gets the DHS or whoever it would be in there to say, hey, you should investigate these people, which apparently does not happen very often. So I would vouch there are a lot of organizations that are they claim HIPAA compliance and they're not, because it's mostly a self-attestation.
Got it. How was your experience?
That's what I learned, and I was surprised.
Got it. Like, did you go through a compliance?
So yes, we did. There's an excellent startup out of San Francisco called Delve. And, it's like, again, it's optional. We don't have to do it. But, I said, I want it to be to the best top of our ability. And I don't know all the HIPAA as well. I didn't a year ago. I know a lot more now.
Got it.
Obviously. But, they provided a third-party platform where they don't do pen testing per se. They won't do that type of thing, but they do provide the actual necessary stuff to be HIPAA compliant per the law in a way where if you were to get pen tested, you would have everything in place to be fine. And so we did that more for just kind of our own conscience being sane, but then also for people, it's a good credibility standpoint, and for people to know that it's not just us saying we're HIPAA compliant and then doing whatever we want.
Got it. Okay, cool. So by the way, like I mentioned, I've worked in healthcare, and one of like my peer, the product manager, the deputy head of product management, he came from a healthcare background, right? And I always felt that it gave him an edge, in having more empathy and more importantly to understand how the whole system works, right, from the get go. So, did
Yes.
your sort of formal background in medical education, right? You had your bachelor's where you had so do you think it sort of gave you an edge when you were building this, or it doesn't really matter?
I like to think so, partially, from my understanding of the biology of the brain to whatever overlap there is between neurophysiology and machine learning. I think there's less possibly than we'd like to think there is. But there is a lot. And so I think trying to think from first principles has maybe helped a little bit. I think even there's been a big context debate the last few months, which I think is excellent, and trying to maybe emulate like system 1, system 2 thinking, maybe even the way that the brain processes information and emulating that in code. I don't know, exploring things like that have been nice. I will say though, more practically, the person who's really helped out on that side would definitely be my co-founder, who has been a practicing physician for over 30 years. And so he's been able to give a lot of good insights into what the healthcare problems are, because he sees a lot of them firsthand. And that's, I believe, helped guide us along decisions that we're making, because, he still is a practicing physician. And so he still sees a lot of things that happen in the real world on a daily basis.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of domain knowledge and actual customer insights you require. Awesome. So, anything else you want to say on DSPy and SpeechSage? Happy to hear before we wrap up the show.
Yeah, no, so one thing, I'm a huge fan of DSPy. I've already used it a lot of ideas, obviously, and things I've played around with as well. One thing I'm very excited for, I saw a pull request for this on DSPy the other day, and I was going to make it myself, but I saw someone else was already, so I'll wait for them to kind of do it. But is RLM. I'm not sure if you've learned about RLM, but recursive language models. And
I did. Yeah.
I think the first time I saw that, I was like, okay, this is like an excellent use case for DSPy.
Right.
And so someone actually made a pull request for that.
Right,
if you're not familiar with it, I won't bore you with the details, but look into that.
I do.
But I think DSPy is well positioned for RLM.
Got it. I did read the paper, and there's a guy called Arjun who has done a wonderful explanation of it on his website, making it very accessible as well.
For sure.
Yeah. In fact, we'll have Isaac, who is the guy who's pushing the implementation into the repo.
That's who it was, yes.
Yeah. So he'll be there on the show on Friday. Yeah.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to watch that one. That'll be awesome then. Yeah. So stuff like that makes me really excited.
Awesome. And it's something that you intend to use in your at SpeechSage, is what I'm assuming.
I think so. I
got it.
2025 was the year of agents, people say, but 2026, I believe, is the year of agentic healthcare AI. So
awesome.
RLM is well suited to do that.
Got it. Awesome. So Noah, thanks for talking to us. Thanks for showing the demo. Thanks for giving your perspective on why
thank you for your time.
DSPy. Right. It was awesome talking to you.
Appreciate it.